In this life, we are both students and teachers. Sometimes we teach others, and sometimes they teach us, and that's commonplace. And this is a story about when I learned, I was taught. I owned a typesetting business for many years, and in the 1980s, when the old businesses went bad and things got tough and desktop computers started coming into the market, that cassette type, well, I could see the handwriting on the wall. There would be no room for typesetting business anymore because people would do their own typesetting. So I sold this business, sold it to a publishing company. And then I needed to find myself a job, so I looked in the paper and seen an ad at a hospital for a computer technician. I knew a little bit about computers, but I don't think I was really a technician, but I needed a job, so I applied for it. When I did, I met there a fellow that I'd went to school with. Actually, he was the head of the department. His name was Charles. He was a nice guy, and he remembered me. And he told me, he said, well, we can teach you what you need to know. He said, you work nights, and you come on about 10 o'clock and get off about between 6 and 7 in the morning. And your job will be to back up all the data that this hospital creates during the day, and along with 2 other hospitals. So there'd be 3 hospitals that I was going to be backing up every night. So I went in there to learn, and they had computers as big as refrigerators, and they had tape drives. They were that big too, with big 12-inch tapes in them, and they had printout units and all kinds of stuff. A lot of it that I've never worked on before. And the guy that was teaching me, he went through the process telling me what my job was, what tapes to put on the machines and how to start them and do this. And I was writing all this down on a piece of paper while we was going through it. Each day was a little different, and I only got 1 week worth of training. On Friday, he said, well, Monday, you're on your own. And I thought, my God, what am I going to do? Don't really know all this stuff. So then he gave me a phone number of a support company. I think it was down in Texas somewhere. And he said, when you run into a problem, you call this number, and there'll be somebody down there to answer your questions for me. And I thought, oh, well, that's some help. So I started Monday, and I had to call the support desk 2 or 3 times. And I got a hold of this guy named Karl with a K, and he was a real nice fella, and he never was impatient with me, or he never said anything negative. He just carefully told me how to do all these things and walked me through it all. Even when I had a major shutdown one time, well, he showed me how to bring the machines back up and get them going again. And I called Karl for every night for a long time, and gradually I began to learn, and I was very grateful to him. And one day I asked, I said, Karl, how do you ever learn all this stuff? And he told me, he said, well, the way you learn it is by making every mistake possible. And then that's the way you learn it. And I thought, okay. And we laughed and we went on. And well, after two months, 3 months, I didn't call him so much anymore. In fact, there'd be a whole month go by without me calling him. And I had everything pretty much that I needed. Well, one night I was sitting there and I thought, well, I think I'll just call Karl and find out what he's doing. I haven't talked to him in a long time. So I called down the support line, and somebody by the name of George answered, and I said, "Is Karl there?" And he said, "Karl?" And I said, "Yeah, it's spelled with a K." And he said, "We don't have a Karl here." And I said, "Well, I've been talking to him." And he said, "No." I said, "No." I said, "I've been here for 3 years." And he said, "I know everybody here at the support deck, and there's not any one of them that's named Karl. Never has been." Well, that was kind of surprising to me, to say the least, but I realized that I had been helped by someone who was really a helper, a spiritual helper. And I said, "Okay." And I never had to call him anymore, but I never got that out of my mind, about Karl. But as my life went by, I found out that there was quite a few things in my life, that things would come to me and things would happen that just seemed to be serendipitous, and I knew then that everything was going to be all right. And I'm sure it happens to everyone in some respect or another, but they don't necessarily notice it, not as much as I did talking to Karl all that time and then finding out there was no Karl there. Well, that's about all I have to say about this one. Thank you for listening to me.